There we go. I was on the wrong screen. You're supposed to have a lovely... You're supposed to see this. You're supposed to see that. And then it's supposed to go to black. And then it's supposed to do this. Because this is professional, don't you know? And only now is it supposed to do this. My goodness. What an amateur. Can you still hear me? You can hear me now. Can you hear me now? I have bars. This is the worst part for people who are not part of the stream, who are watching on YouTube later, is this thing on? Is this thing on? Anyway, you can hear me, yes. Good, good. Thank you all. There's a whole bunch of you here. Huzzah and hooray. And hello, my friends, my Saturday friends. Let me begin by saying thank you for joining me here. Super happy for you all to be here. I am so goddamn tired. I have had like 3 hours sleep, I think. I went to bed at 1. I woke up at 4 a.m. like this, just eyes wide awake. Maybe got to sleep for another hour or two at 7:30, and then when your sleep is interrupted like that, it's all just terrible. And the thing is, we had such a great Broken Empire's staff meeting yesterday. Fantastic. I was in cloud nine. Everything was great. I was like, this is all coming together. The new look of the book is great, and the art's coming in, and the rules are solid, and everything's great, and people are excited. And then, for some reason, I just couldn't sleep. I don't think it had anything to do with the Broken Empires. I think it's just me. Anyway, there's a whole bunch of you here, which is fantastic. I'm going to see if I can remember how any of this works. Agile Monk, member. Trevor always showing the love and appreciation. Greetings and hallucinations to all of us, exactly. Yes. Good to see you, James. Thanks for coming. Yes, the Saturday stream. I think it works better. There's more people that come in for the Saturdays than they do for the Wednesday nights. But as we go on, I want to know if you Wednesday night viewers prefer the Wednesday nights or if you prefer the Saturdays. Because I don't know how much longer I can keep staggering this. It might be smarter just to do it once a week on the same day. I don't know. Vortak is here. Hello, friend. Nigel is here. Excellent. Excellent. Harmon is here, criticizing my professionalism. Len Valencia in Spain. Hello, my friend. Place to be welcoming, Joe. Yes. Good, good. Simon Hunter's here. Excellent, excellent. Thanks all for joining. Roll Rapid from Catalonia. Hello, hello. How many of you are D6ers? Because I opened up this particular chat to the D6 tier on Patreon as well. So let me know who's a D6er out there, because it'll be good to see you. I just wanted to show my appreciation by giving you a little participation event here. Anyway, what to talk about today? There are some questions from the gallery, which I'm just going to get into. Lachlan, patron Lachlan, says, hey, Trevor, can't make it to the stream, but how did you find ACKs, which is the Adventure Conquer King system? Are there any design ideas or concepts you've gleaned, along the way? So, I'm in a game of ACKs. I'm playing ACKs right now. And, hold on, let me adjust my screen. Let's see a little better here. Do I have to adjust my screen? No, I don't. What am I doing? What am I doing? There we go. ACKs, yes, playing ACKs, Adventure Conquer King system. When I bought the first version of ACKs, the first edition, what I thought was, this is like everything that AD&D wants to be, or wanted to be, but didn't know how to be at the time. Wolve, or however you pronounce that. Hello, hello. Thanks for joining. So ACKs, yeah. ACKs is sort of what I thought AD&D always wanted to be. That was before I played it, or ran it. I was very excited about it, and that's unusual for me because it is basically just D&D, and as those of you who follow me know, I'm not a big D&D fan. I have nothing against it, other than I get bored by it. I got bored by it sometime in the early 80s, and I pretty much never went back. Not entirely true. I ran a 3.5 campaign for a couple years, and I ran a very brief 5e campaign, and even now I'm toying with some OSR stuff behind the scenes just because it's fun. But so how did I find ACKs? Are there any design ideas or concepts you gleaned along the way? So when the second edition came out, and I have I have the book over here, the player's handbook. I've also got the judge's journal and the monstrous compendium, I think it's called. I had that in the studio. Beautiful books, beautiful, big, thick tomes, really, really well made. Really evocative of its setting, which is kind of like the default Mithras setting. Not that Mithras really has a default setting, but Mithras, because it's based on RuneQuest, which was supposed to take place in Glorantha, which has a very classical mythology feel to it. The ACKs setting that it comes with, and the implied setting is like a Roman Empire kind of, like a fallen Roman Empire kind of setting. Anyway, beside the point. It's a lot. There's a lot going on. I'm just a player in it, so I'm only playing one character. I'm playing a priest, a cleric, which is good and fun. The rest of the players are great. GM's great. Everything's great. But I still bump up against the limitations of D&D-isms, right? So many spell slots per day, all that kind of stuff, hit points, armor class. I'm not against any of all this stuff. I've found better ways to do this, in my opinion. Hence the D100 systems, hence the Rogan Empires, right? Not that I'm saying that's a be-all and end-all of anything, but I always butt up against the D&D-isms of ACKs, and it's fine, though. It's fun, because it's really about the people. We spend more time just kind of, shooting the shit than we do actually playing the game most of the time. But it's fun. It's great. And the GM is really, really great. He's really immersive. He really brings us in, which is I really appreciate that. But in terms of the rules, we're getting okay. So here's where ACKs is different from a lot of those bog standard D&D-ish games. ACKs assumes, and it's in the name, you go from adventurer to conqueror to king. So that means that there's a very definitive play style that's assumed. You start off as a nobody, you get a little stronger, you start to become a little more powerful, you start to gain influence and seize territory, and then fight wars to take more territory is sort of what's going on. So it has all kinds of rules for this, and they get in the weeds, man. Now, I don't see a lot of this because it's mostly for the GM. It's mostly GM facing. But if you're talking about, hey, we want to go through this town and we want to recruit mercenaries, well, that's not just a matter of, okay, well, there's 1d6 soldiers that join you and they cost 30 gold pieces this month. No. It's all about what kind of market is this, and what are the odds that these guys have their own weapons, and how much do they want, and are there cavalry versus infantry versus war elephants, and blah, blah, which is all great from our side. But from the GM side, that's a lot of work. And I can see the GM, when we decide to do something in the middle of the game, goes, okay, and now he's conducting his mathematical exercises to try and figure out what's available, because he's going very much by the book. He wants to use the rules that exist, and that's great. But there's a lot of them. And I can see a lot of people kind of bouncing off that a bit. It takes a certain mindset to really appreciate that kind of thing. And sometimes I'm in that mindset and sometimes I'm not. So when I look at ACKs, I think, okay, what could I lift from it to be inspired by, or to sort of use in my own games? The economy system is great. It's very realistic, but it's also a lot of work. So I don't know if that juice is worth the squeeze for me. The mass battle system is okay. We've had just that much exposure to it as players. It's okay. There's more detailed systems coming out, which is a full war game. And again, a lot of people like that. A lot of people don't. In my game, there's an appendix, and in one of the appendices is mass combat. But my mass combat system, it is a full, it's a tactical unit mass combat system. It's not really a narrative system. It's not for people who I want to know what my character does and whatever happens in the battles. You can already do that with existing rules. These rules are for, I want to control how this unit of cavalry sweeps around the base of the hill and takes the enemy orc unit in the flank, that kind of stuff. Again, not everybody's cup of tea, but hence why in my game it's an appendix. You can disregard it if you want. So ACKs is really cool that way, but I just keep bumping up against the D&D-isms of it all. But boy, man, there's so much work that went into that game. And the Judge's Journal, the introduction is fantastic. The advice for new GMs is fantastic. From what I've read, there's a lot of it. I agree with most of it in terms of its philosophy, in terms of this is what a game can be. These are the tools that a GM should be using to give their players a specific experience. So I would recommend it for that alone. If you're a GM and you want some really solid advice on how to run a game, I definitely read that. But it's good. It's great. I could even see myself running it one day, but I can see myself running a million things one day. And of course, we only have so many days to spare. All right, what else we got? Who's joined us? Garth Jones, hello. So Garth prefers Saturdays. Okay, good to know. And kind of like Wolf. Kind of like Wolf, kind of like Wolg. Wolg. Okay. Agile, you're a D12. Oh, my goodness. You're one of my top supporters. Well, thank you, sir. Ma'am. Person. ACKs plus amazingly crunchy killer system. Yeah, lots of moving parts like Risk in an RPG. Yeah, it certainly can be. For tech, it certainly can be. I would say even several steps more complicated than Risk. You know, the rules of Risk are fairly simple. There's nothing fairly simple about the system. I shouldn't say that. The mass combat system that we actually use in the game, and again, I have that much experience, so I'm not really an authority on this. But it basically, you count up your army value in different zones of the... Oh, come on, light. You count up your army's value, and you place your army on the different flanks. There's the center, there's the right flank, left flank. So I like that. And you have to place your army, you have to place your units in opposition to the enemy, but you don't know what the enemy's going to be. So it's fog of war, right? And then when it's revealed, you see who's there, and you count up the units value, and you basically roll a handful of d20s based on that value against the others. And it's dead simple. It's basically, you're rolling these d20s, and you have to hit, and however many hits you get is damage to the units. So it's essentially, it's almost one roll resolution in many ways, because you can lose several units at once this way. In fact, we did in our first exchange on the left flank. And then we wiped out everybody on the right flank. And so it's good. It's good. It's kind of in between narrative and like a narrative experience. You can also dive in with your players. Your player characters can take front and center and get in there. But if you do that, apparently it just turns into just a regular giant combat. So you're not really in mass combat anymore. You're just in normal combat. But yeah, so that was ACKs and is ACKs, and I will continue to play it. Just think of it as Wolf with a V sound. Oh, Wolf. 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 I will call you Wolf, meine Freunde. Have you played the Trudvang RPG? I'm about to wrap up the campaign for Trudvang Legends, the board game. No, but isn't Trudvang now going to be a setting for Dragonbane? Isn't that Free League's latest Kickstarter campaign? I think it is. Just a guy who's been playing since 1974 and jamming since 76. Well, you got a few years on me. I didn't really start till like 79, 80. But hey, one of the old guard. Roll Rapid. Saturdays are better for me. Great. Trudvang for Dragonbane. Kickstarter's on now. Yes. My friend Travis has a YouTube channel called The Painted Mini, and he was painting the Trudvang board game, miniature game. So go check him out. I think he did that last year. I'm not exactly sure. Maybe it's ongoing. The Painted Mini is his YouTube channel. Go check that out. It's great. Great channel. He's very laid back. He's very laid back and does some really good work and gets into the settings. Okay, I had another question here. This is from Harmon. Any plans for another live play like the Blade Runner adventure, or maybe something like a short adventure like you did with Kelsey, Dave, and Professor Dungeon Master? Those were really cool to watch. So, a lot of people ask me about the Blade Runner thing because I did the starter set as an actual play in person, shot it in the studio, shot it in the house with real live players. It was the best thing I've ever done on the channel. And I set out to make one of the best actual plays on YouTube. And in my opinion, I succeeded. People who watch it agree. In the overwhelming majority. I'm so proud of that series. I think there were 6 episodes or 8, maybe 8 episodes. We shot them all in one day, and then it took me a solid month to edit that stuff. And it was a lot of work. And considering the low views of that series, it's not, quote unquote, worth it for me to do another one like that. because of the time involved. If nobody watches it, then I'm just doing it for myself, which is fine. I mean, obviously I love it, but there's a line, right? Like, you have to make sure, if I'm doing this for the camera, right? If I'm going in, if I'm doing this, if I'm putting the effort in to create something as a piece of entertainment for people to watch, people need to watch it. And if they don't watch it, okay, well, then it's kind of a wasted effort, which sucks because I loved it. I loved how it turned out. I loved doing the editing and the production design on it and the special effects and the music. I loved shooting it. I loved everything about it. It was great, but it was just a tremendous amount of work. Free League supported us sort of unofficially with that, which was super great of them. That's Tomas. He's the head honcho over there. We talk about that pretty much every time I see him at Gen Con. So I'm sure he'd be amenable to us doing something again, but I don't know. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. Now, the thing I did with Kelsey, Dave, and Professor Dungeon Master, that was for the Broken Empires. That was last year, was it? Or may God, it was 2 years ago. I don't remember. It was sort of a demo game of an earlier version of the Broken Empires. That was a lot easier to do because I was just talking heads on a screen, right? That was running like a Roll20 game with these guys. So that was way easier to do, technically speaking, but also less satisfying creatively because I don't have the ability to make that all cool like I do if we were all in the same room with multiple cameras like I did with Blade Runner. So again, for me, I'm always looking at this like a piece of entertainment. I want to create a piece of entertainment that is really awesome to watch. And to me, a live play where it's nothing but a bunch of talking heads on a screen, on a Zoom call, I find that very dull. Even when it's my own stuff, I'm like, this is really dull. I want to jazz it up. I want to make it better and entertaining. You know what my goal is? My goal is I want people who know nothing about RPGs to watch this and go, wow, that's cool. What's going on? And be hooked, right? That's always been my goal, even with Season 1 of Me, Myself, and Die. My goal was, I want this to be entertaining to more than just gamers. I want this to be entertaining to someone who just wants to watch it for the experience or the story or the whatever, right? So, would I do another one? Yeah, it would be easier for me to do a talking head one, production-wise, but not as satisfying. And I will. I can tell you that I will. I've already talked to Kelsey about this, about doing some more stuff together with some other people. So it will happen, but right now the focus, of course, is on finishing the Broken Empires and getting it out the door. And guys, we're so close. We're so close. It's so frustrating because there's just when you think, yes, we're there, there's something that comes up and you go, nope, we're not there yet. But it's so close. It's looking so good. Oh boy, I got seriously excited. We saw the new layout design for the combat chapter that I was working on with my layout artist, Nav. And we had to make a few adjustments a little while ago for various design reasons. But, oh, guys, those adjustments are so good. It looks so good. It's so clean. It's so readable. It's so great. I'm so excited about it now. And so it's so frustrating that I can't show it to you yet because it's not done. I cannot stress to you how much work this is. A 500-page full-color giant tome of a rule book that only has a crew of about 5 or 6 people working on it. Full time. It's a lot. It's a lot. So I can't rush it. And this leads into another question from Imhotep, another supporter. What is your estimated timeline for the PDF and the book? We want to be able to say that the PDF will be done by the end of March. I don't know if I can say that. I mean, I want to say that, but it's not up to me. It's up to our artists. It's up to our layout people. It's up to that whole machine working together. And everybody is working very hard, believe me. But we can only go so fast. We can't cast a magic spell to, Creo book him. We can't just create something. We have to take the time it requires, and that's just the way it is. And there have been a couple people who have been saying, oh, well, I'm getting a little impatient with this, and oh, my enthusiasm's dying down for this, and this feels like a scam. And I'm like, I think I talked about this last time. I'm the worst scam artist ever. I've had your money for over a year, and yet I keep updating you and showing you the work that we're doing and coming on here on YouTube and talking about the game and showing you bits and pieces. So obviously I'm a terrible scam artist if that's the case. Use your head, man. Anyway, that's my rant, and that is over. Second question from Harmon is about magic in the Broken Empires, which we are going to get to in 1 second. But first, I want to look at our comments here, because they're coming in fast and furious. Blade Runner really was the best live play ever. Thank you, Harmon. Thank you. I'm so proud of that show. If you on YouTube have not seen the Blade Runner series, please check it out on the channel. I think it's the best thing I've done on the channel. Certainly, from a production value standpoint, it's the best thing I've done. All the players are great. The game was great. System's fun. The music, the effects, everything. It was great. Yes, editing is serious work. 8 episodes all at once. And I had to send the audio out to a friend of mine in Tennessee who's a professional audio engineer and voice actor. He's actually, his name James Arnold Taylor. He's the voice of Dookie I'm Dookie. He's Johnny on Johnny Test. I'm Dookie on Johnny Test. So we became fast friends when we worked on that show many, many years ago. And he's just like me. He's an audio head. He's a video head, you know. And so when we shot the Blade Runner series, we all had lav mics, but we all had different lav mics, and we didn't have an audio engineer, so they all came in at completely different levels and frequencies, and it was just a mess. And it was beyond my ability to fix, so I sent it to him and said, can you please run this to Pro Tools and see if you can fix it? And he worked a miracle and made it sound great. Sent me the whole thing back, and then I had to sweeten it and sync it and all that kind of stuff. So it was just a tremendous amount of work, but it was so good. Please, guys, go check it out. I love it. I love the single video for season 1. I also get the work was not worth it. I personally loved watching it that way. The single video for season 1. Oh, are you talking about Blade Runner? Which one are you talking about, Vortak? I might have missed what you're referring to. Regarding the single video for season 1, some keywords that might help with the discoverability might be including full. Oh, I see what you mean. Okay, thank you. Thanks, guys. Okay, I know what you mean now. You're talking about right. The single video of season 1. This is exactly what you said. Where I put a supercut together of all the episodes of season 1 and put it out as one video. It did okay. It did good. And Volve is saying to change up the keywords. I will do that. I don't know this whole algorithm thing, guys. I never had. It's probably the reason why my viewership is kind of stalled, or my subscription rate is kind of stalled, because I don't know how to play this game. I just put stuff out and hope that people see it. So I'm a very bad YouTuber. If you're ever looking for an assistant editor, I'd be delighted to help out. I will let you know, because that day may come. It is very possible. Super excited to get the games for my store. Love how it's coming together. This is the Broken Empires we're talking about. That is awesome. Your excitement about the layout is a little infectious. Yeah, well, good. I hope it is, because it's so good. It's so good. Theron, how's it going, man? Oh, Terry, not Theron. I know who you are, Terry. Late, but I made it. Welcome, friend. It is a lot of work. It is absolutely a lot of work. Yeah, it is not official, Harmon. It is not official. I say this with all seriousness. There's a lot of people in Discord who were joking about it. Hey, it's March 4th. It's my birthday. Guess what? The PDF's coming out. Ha, 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 ha. Nice little joke, except that then people see that and they go, what? Oh, it's March 4th? We're definitely getting the PDF. And then March 5th comes and they're like, what? He lied to us. I never said it was March 4th. I never said that. That was a joke. So, no, there's nothing official yet. I can't say it, because if I tell you an exact date, you're going to be disappointed. And I'd rather surprise you than disappoint you. But it is coming. I can only say that for so long, but but it's true. Yes, thank you, Terry. It's done when it's done. Yeah, well, okay, so here's the thing about the scam thing. This was someone posted a comment on the Kickstarter page, and then someone else, maybe even the same person, on a Reddit thread that I saw. I understand why people feel trepidatious about this. I do. I get it. I'm not a big Kickstarter supporter myself. I've bought some things, but I'm not like Joe Kickstarter, right? So I hear the stories about people getting ripped off in Kickstarter. To me, that's unthinkable. My work ethic would never allow that, ever. But I get it. I get why people would think that. It breaks my heart to think that people would think me, think that I was capable of that. But these are just people in the world on the internet. They don't know me. I'm just some guy. So I get it. I get why people would think that. All I can tell you is it's not a scam. It's the real thing. I've been playing it and running it, and everyone who's played it loves it, and it's coming and it looks gorgeous. And I give monthly updates, guys. There's one coming tonight. I hope it's tonight. Today's the last day of February. Where we're always showing you our progress on it, right? So it breaks my heart to think that someone would think that I was capable of ripping people off. It makes me throw up a little bit in my mouth when I think that. But I get it. I understand why people would have that reaction in certain cases because, once bitten, twice shy. So I get it. But if you're listening, Mr. Scam Accuser or Miss Scam Accuser, please believe me, I'm for real, okay? I've been at this a long time, games that is, and I've been a decent man my whole life, and I intend to continue being one. I agree, especially with all the updates going on. I've missed what you're agreeing with, but I'll assume it's with me. Yes, season 1 with Simon. Yes, it took me a second to figure that one out. Vorteg, I'm very, very tired, as I said. 3 hours sleep. Bad YouTuber, best designer, can't have it all. Well, I wouldn't say best designer. I am a designer. Whether or not you like the game or not is yet to be seen. You might hate it. I don't know. It's possible. You might hate it. No one who's played it hates it yet, but there will be those of you who hate it. Let's not fool ourselves. There will be those of you who look at this and go, oh, this isn't what I thought it was at all. What are you going to do? It's a game. Some people love it. Some people hate it. Well, okay, yes, the March 4th rubbish, yeah, it was just a joke. It was just a joke on Discord where somebody was ribbing me a little bit. It's fine. But it is actually a problem because people don't understand that it's a joke. And people see that stuff and they go, oh! So please, Discord, friends, please be careful what you say. It gets me in trouble even though I haven't done anything. Who is doing your layout and design? I presume InDesign for the layout. Yes, my friend John Navarrete, who's my layout artist and my production coordinator and my everything. He's my right hand, basically. He's the hand of the king. He is using InDesign because he is a professional layout artist, and of course that is the tool. He does great work, and I'm so grateful for everything he's done. I thought the season 1 video was literally you locked in a room for 12 hours playing by yourself. Still stuck around to watch it as a mega compilation. I put it on the background all the time. That's cool. Thanks. No, it wasn't. But I think it's hilarious that you'd think that. And I guess if you're only listening to it, you could see that. But if you actually watch it, which you're supposed to because it's YouTube. It's not a podcast. It's a YouTube show. You'll see I change outfits. I change costumes. Change clothes. Because it's once a week. But that's funny. That's funny. Better to underpromise and overdeliver. Yes, exactly. The truth is, anytime you use Kickstarter, you need to be prepared for the possibility that you won't get the product. It's very rare, but it does happen. But not this time. No, Terry, not this time. I promise you, not this time. The worst that can happen is that it's later than we want and that we experience delays. That's the worst that can happen. But I promise you, you are getting this game. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of not having people being able to play it. I want them to play it, and I want them to get something out of it, and I'm so excited about bringing it to you. It's just as frustrating for me as it is for you. Believe me. You have an amazing amount of energy for someone running 3 hours of sleep. Yeah. Yeah. No drugs. This isn't even real beer. All right. As for being late, the vast majority of Kickstarter fulfillments are late. Yeah, that's true. I've backed a lot of Kickstarter campaigns, and only a few have been on time. So now I expect it to be late and pleasantly surprised if it's not. Yeah, you're so right, man. I got the Dolmenwood set, and I think that sucker was 2 years late. Now, I didn't care because I'm a fire and forget guy. I buy something, and then I forget all about it. I'm not on the Discord. I'm not, checking into it all the time. I forget. So for me, it's always a pleasant surprise. Oh, you got a package in the mail. What's this? Oh, right. This thing I bought 2 years ago when I was drunk. Which in the case of Dolmenwood is true. And it's just another reason why I quit drinking. The Pirate Borg stuff that I bought is on the way. I got my review copies from Free League, but I didn't get my copies that I actually bought. Guys, I gotta tell you, the Pirate Borg stuff, kind of a rules light masterpiece. Not gonna lie. I met Luke Stratton, the creator of the game, last year, Gen Con. Great guy. Just super nice. This game is it's a thing of beauty. I have to tell you, it's super rules light. I'm not a big rules light guy. I kind of want to run this game because it pulls you in, man. It pulls you into the world. Yeah, good stuff. Check it out. I'm probably going to do another review video on the the new Pirate Borg stuff, because I did a video here on the channel on Pirate Borg when it first came out, I think, or when I first got it. But now this is all the new stuff that they've put out, and it's really good. It's really good. That's the impression I got from the title, too. Season 1 full video. Oh, that you thought it was just me sitting there for 12 hours? I had watched the entire Season 1 previously, and when I realized it was the same one, I just ended up watching it again. My opinion is that if you are familiar with Kickstarter, you can understand longer wait times and delays. Yeah, I mean, yeah. But you know, people are different. People are different. And people don't know. You know, people who've never created anything, they don't know. People who've never done a Kickstarter, they don't know. So when you're told by a creator, here's the date it's going to be hopefully available, because, you know, the thing that people choose to ignore is the little thing at the bottom of every page that says all of this information is subject to change, including release date. People choose to ignore that. That's a very important caveat on every Kickstarter for just this reason, you know. But they don't know. So in their head, they think, oh, end of October, 2025. Well, now it's late. It must be a scam. Or you could read the updates, you know, that we send. Our Kickstarter should be sending you every month, the automated updates. And if not, you can check the page where it says, you know, 29 updates. We're always updating. So, but I get it. I know you've mentioned stuff previously, but what are your plans post TBE release other than the tutorial videos? A lot. First of all, I need to rest. That'll be the first thing. I'm not going to have time to rest. In fact, and I'll talk about this. I talk about this in the update that we're releasing today. I just signed up for my first vendor booth at a convention. I will be at Page next January, the Philadelphia Area Gaming Expo. And in fact, I'll be my booth is across from the Pirate Borg guys. I've never done this before. It's the first time. I'll be there hawking the material, talking about the game, possibly running games, having people run games, all that stuff that you do at cons, which I'm utterly unfamiliar with because I've never done this before. So, yeah, that's kind of a huge deal, a huge evolutionary step. And it's exciting now that I know that the game is actually going to be in people's hands this year. Yeah. I am getting back to your second question, Harmon, too, about the spell. To go into the Broken Empire's magic system takes some doing, so I will get to that. I promise. Meek Mithril, hello. It's been fascinating to watch your journey through designing your first game, and also quite edifying. I bet there'd be an interest in some kind of workshop in the actual process. Well, funny you say that, Mithril, because that is exactly what I'm planning on doing. In fact, when I was at an animation convention last week in Scranton, Pennsylvania. And I met this duo, this pair of brothers, big gamer guys. And we talked all weekend about games and stuff. And they are designing their own, of course, because everybody is. And they asked me, you know, do you have any pointers? And I was telling them, well, this is what I've learned in this process. And here's what I think is important when you're designing a game and when you're trying to market a game and blah, 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 all that stuff. And they said to me, you need to, like, do a video on this. And they're not the first ones to say that either. So I'm definitely going to do that. It's not going to be presented as some expert testimonial or anything because I'm just a guy. But I do want to share what I've learned because I think that it'll be very edifying, to use your word, for people who don't understand exactly what goes into this process. It might give them a little more appreciation of all the mammoth amounts of work that has to happen. And also, it could be very helpful for people who are trying to do their own thing as well. Because, you know, share the wealth, right? Rising tide lifts all boats and all that stuff. Terry forgot some Kickstarter campaigns too. Happens to me all the time. All the time, brother. All the time. I'm with you, says Vortek. Fire and forget. I get games a lot that sometimes take 4 years to come in. Yeah. Well, that won't be the Broken Empires, God willing. I was really hoping that the Broken Empires would be max 6 months late. What does that mean? November, December, January, February, March, April. And it's going to be more than 6 months late. We're not going to have it in your hands by April. Maybe the PDF. We're hoping the digital versions. That's still the hope, guys, is by the end of March. That's still the hope. But do not quote me on that date because it's not up to me. We're so close. Don't know how many times I can say that. Will the other Kickstarter perks be available eventually? I really wanted to get the dice board and some of the other fun goodies, but they're not available anymore. So most of the stuff that you could have got on Kickstarter will be ultimately available on the store page. It'll be a little more expensive because we had Kickstarter pricing. And there are some things you won't be able to get. There were some specific Kickstarter exclusives. I can't tell you off the top of my head which which items those are. But the short answer is yes. Virtually everything you could have got on the Kickstarter, you will be able to get on the store page, but only after the Kickstarter backers have received their stuff. Because I don't want to get in this situation where other people who came in late get their stuff before the backers, right? Obviously, I owe my backers that at the very least. So, and I don't just mean game design, but building a team, learning, formatting, managing art. Oh yeah, for sure. Eventually I'm going to do a video with Nav, my production manager, and we're going to talk about this. He can really shed some light on a lot of stuff because he's the one that does a lot of the schedule-y stuff and wrangling artists and designers and stuff behind the scenes. So he can speak a lot more to that than I can. So yeah, we're definitely going to do that. Someone got me this thing I was interested in years ago. How nice. Yeah, exactly. That's when a new Kickstarter shows up. Do you still have plans for the Rangers of Shadowdeep series? I absolutely do, James. And as soon as I finish shooting the last episode of Season 4, which I keep meaning to do and I keep running out of time, that will happen. I was hoping to do it last week. Couldn't do it last week. I was hoping to do it next week. Can't do it next week. Too many things going on. But yes, Rangers of Shadowdeep is definitely on the table. Super excited about running that. Terry says, Dvorak, I backed 1001 Odysseys and afterward played the demo at Gen Con. It's in 2018. It's still in development from 2018, man. Wow. Well, they're still posting updates, so that's a good sign. That's a good sign. Last Wednesday, you said Mothership wasn't worth the work of creating a PC due to its mortality rating. Maybe you would like those dark places. It's rules light, but has the Mothership vibes, but easier. I don't know those dark places. I barely know Mothership. I've only played it twice. I haven't even read the whole book. So I'm really in no position to comment other than my really, really, really scratching of the surface experience by playing twice. That's just what I felt. My initial instinct was, why do we have all these complex rules if people are just going to get wiped out immediately? It feels like a bit of a waste of time. But like I said, I'm not the guy to talk to about this. I'm not Mr. Mothership. I'm not the guy who understands that game. Or has even read it. Garth Jones, I think the thing that will make the Broken Empire successful compared to other startups is your breadth of experience. I think, yes, breadth. It's not just about years of playing, but the fact you've played so many different games. Yeah, that's part of the draw, I think, for a lot of people. I've been at this a long time, 45-ish years. Hundreds of games. I don't know if I could say hundreds of games. Certainly 100 games, at least. I have hundreds of games on my shelf. Played most of them, ran most of them. Yeah, I've been at this a long time, and, but like I've said before, an experienced GM or an experienced player is not at all the same thing as an experienced game designer, because things do not necessarily translate when you bring them to the table, and you don't know that until you try it. So I do think that is a boon, though, the fact that I am well-versed in a lot of games, that I can draw upon my experience to bring in all of these pieces and make them work together, and it seems to work pretty good. Those Dark Places is Osprey Games. I've never heard of it. Never heard of that one. That's unusual. A game I've never heard of. Interesting. I'll have to look that up. Do you think there might be an expansion of the solo rules for Broken Empires? You've mentioned before that's not quite your department. Just checking. So we have a full solo system included in the book. It's the solo chapter as well as the Loom of Fate, which is an add-on thing you can buy, which is like a series of tables that compile the stuff you need for a solo game. But it's not just for a solo game. Like the Loom of Fate is super useful for a GM too, because I know for me, when I'm running a game, I like to have the solo rule oracles and tables there, because I like to make stuff up in the moment when I'm running players. So that Loom of Fate is really, really useful for that. So an expansion of the solo rules, at this point, I don't think we need it. They're pretty encapsulating right now. So I don't really think that we need that at the moment. But who can say? Okay, Harmon, let's get to your question here. Can you give one or two examples for how a Broken Empire spell would be handled at the table? Maybe a low and high power spell. So the player describes what he wants to do. How does the GM determine the requirements or SLs needed? What would scaling the power up or down or adding extra effects do with the requirements for the spell to succeed? Well, funny you should ask that. I will just pull this up now. I will pull this up now. I got to find it here. Pulling up the document. So we are, oh, that's not the right one. We're in editing, we took the book and we ripped it apart into 20 different Google Docs per chapter, like a different doc per chapter. So every time I have to find something, it takes me forever to pull up the thing. But here it is. Here it is. Okay, so your question is, give some examples for how a spell works. Okay. So the first thing in Weave Magic, a caster has a skill in a bind and a strand. A bind is how you are manipulating the universe. There's 5 possibilities. You can change, conjure, control, destroy, or witness. Witness is to perceive. Intellego, as you might say in Ars Magica. Those are the 5 ways to control or to impose your will upon the universe. But then the strands are the aspect of reality that the caster is interacting with. There's 10 of those. Air, beast, body, earth, fire, plant, spheres, which is magic, the planes, spirit, thought, and water. So when you want to do something, you draw upon a bind and you draw upon a strand. You have a skill, like a normal skill rating in a bind. So you might have conjure 65, right? You have a value in the strand, but the strand value is not a skill value. There's a reason for that. The first thing you need to do when you're casting a spell is you have to know what your intention is. What am I trying to do here? That's the first thing. What is the overall effect I'm trying to do? So in our test game, one of our test games, our latest test game, there was a guy playing a druid, which is a spellweaver character. They were fighting these mounted soldiers in the forest. So at one point, this mounted soldier was charging up, or not charging because he was in the forest, but he was moving up towards an ally. And the druid saw that the branches were all around this guy. So the druid was very well versed in control and plant, as you can imagine. So what he said was, I want this to happen. I want to cast a spell so that when that soldier brings his sword up to hack down on my friend, he gets his arm caught in the branches and it disarms him. And I thought, oh, okay. So that's your intention. You're trying to disarm the guy using magic. Great. If he had destroy body, he could do the same thing. He could say, I want to, as soon as that guy's arm comes up, I want to seize the muscles in its arm so they cramp up and they burst inside and he drops his. There's many, many ways to skin a cat, to use a crude term. But he had control and plant because that's what he was good at. So that's what he wanted to do. So then I thought, okay, the first thing you do is, what is the magnitude of that effect? You don't have to do this first either. You could apply magnitude after. Magnitude is how offensive to reality is that effect. So I go off the description of what the character's saying, or the player's saying, right? So in that case, he had described a magical effect that very much works in with natural law. The horseman was in a forest. He was swinging his sword around a lot of branches. Basically, that magnitude I judged to be subtle. There's 4 levels. There's discreet, subtle, offensive, and vulgar, okay? Discreet is like, it's as close to coincidence as possible. It's beneath notice, right? Subtle is, well, that was kind of weird, but Offensive is, oh, okay, there's something very strange going on here. It's very hard to describe that or to explain that. And vulgar is, that is clearly crazy magic, right? So I judge this effect because of the way the player described it as subtle. So not quite the lowest, but the next one up. So we knew what that was. That gives a specific value to the total cost, because when you're casting a spell, it's not just about your skill at casting it, it's about whether you can control it, okay? Your skill roll determines whether you're successful, and it also determines how hard the spell is to resist, because the law of resistance says everyone can resist a spell, okay? So magic is extremely powerful and very versatile, but everybody gets a chance to resist it. So that's what your skill does. That's what his control does, okay? But the plant part of it is the strand part of it. The second part of the spell is once you've cast it, you need to know if you can control it. So when you cast a spell, your tens die is the success levels, and that is basically the target number to resist it. So the higher you roll, the harder it is to resist, which means having expertise is very, very important for a spellcaster. Expertise, of course, raises your floor. Your minimum number of SLs goes between 2 and 4. Very expensive to get, but very useful. The ones die on the bind roll helps control the spell. And that's wildly variable, right? Between 1 and 10. So he rolls, let's say his skill 65, and let's say he rolls 42. Okay? Well, it's a success. It's a success with 4 SLs. Very good spell casting, hard to resist. The guy has to make an opposed, in this case, endurance roll or whatever we decided it was, because it's up to the GM and the player to figure out exactly what the resistance roll is going to be. He's got to beat 42 on his roll, right? In other words, he's got to roll 42 or more, or 4 success levels or more. If he doesn't, the spell takes effect. If he does, spell doesn't work. So be it. But now the control is the issue. So he rolls 42. He succeeded with 4 SLs, but the ones dice has 2, which means he applies 2 towards the total cost. He also applies his plant strand value towards the total cost. Let's say it's 5. So so in this case, rolled a 42, plants a 5. He's contributed 7 towards the total cost. We're going to get to how to factor the total cost in a second. He also has something called a thread. A thread is a solidified piece of magic that is inherently powerful and can be used towards casting a spell for the purposes of controlling it. Okay, it's a usage die and it goes down with time. Sometimes there's variance on it too. But he had, I think, a D6 plant, so he rolled a 3. Okay, he's contributed 10 SLs towards that. It's not really SLs, but he's contributed 10 towards the total cost. But before we do all this, we've already factored in what we've already figured out what the spell's going to cost. I'm kind of all over the place here because I'm very tired. But so he describes a spell. I say that's a subtle magnitude spell. That's a total cost of 2. Then we look at the elements of the spell: the target, the range, the duration, and the effect, and the initiative penalty from armor. Because casting a spell in any armor, it's not impossible. It doesn't make the spell harder to cast. It makes it harder to control. Okay. So the target in this case was one individual because he was targeting that guy. So that guy, one individual, is 2. So far we've got 2 for subtle and we've got 2 for the target. The range, he was within close range, which is 1 zone away. That's another 2. So now we're up to 6. The duration was instant, okay? The durations could be 1 round, concentration, a minute, an hour, sundown, a week, fortnight, a month, a year, or permanent, but those get into some ritual area spells. But he wanted it instantly. It was going to happen, bang, right now, okay? That's free. So he's up to 6, okay? And then the effect, there's a whole list of possible effects, and they're not all inclusive because I can't think of everything, but I thought of most things. And if I haven't thought of most things, there's literally a category that says spells that do anything else. But where is it here? To perform a combat maneuver. So what he said was, what his effect was, he wanted the guy to slash his sword and his arm to get caught up in the branches. I interpreted that to mean he's trying to disarm him. That is a combat maneuver. Performing a combat maneuver with magic costs 3. So he's got, just to go over this again, and I'm making this sound really pedantic, but believe me, when you're in the game and you know how this works, this happens in seconds. So he had 2 for magnitude. He had 2 for target. He had 2 for range. He had free for duration. And he had 3 for effect. That's up to 9. Now, his initiative penalty, he was wearing a little bit of armor, and his initiative penalty, I think, was -3. Every time you wear any armor, it's going to make you slightly slower to react. In the case of a spellcaster, the penalty that you have from your initiative penalty for armor acts as a positive modifier, as in it adds to the total cost of a spell, which means he's up to 12 total cost. Okay, that spell, we know it's going to cost him 12. So once again, he makes the roll. He rolls 42, succeeds with 4 SLs. Great. 2 is applied towards it. His plant strand of 5 is applied toward it. He rolls 3 on his thread die. He's up to 10. He's short by 2 because his total cost was 12. Spell works. the guy has to resist it. If he resists it, so be it. If he doesn't resist it, he suffers the full effects. There's no partial effects with magic. It's all or nothing. So, he's too short, which means he can either expend 2 resolve to cover the spread so that it's fully controlled, or he can take a weave reaction. He rolls a d20 plus whatever he's short as a modifier. In this case, it'd be +2. So 1d20 plus 2. Now, the weave reactions are all over the place. Not all of them are bad, but most of them are bad. And the very worst ones, when you're talking a non-ritual spell, can actually give you fraying points. And as I've talked about before, fraying is the natural timer built into every spell weaver. It's the more fraying they accumulate, the more attention they've gained from the weave, and eventually the tapestry of reality plucks you out of the tapestry and says, that's enough, pal. So all spell weavers are on a timer. But it's random, right? Well, it's not entirely random. If you expend your resolve to control spells, you don't have to worry about it. But that only lasts so long. So that's an example of how that spell would work. And I have a whole bunch of examples like that in this book. So that's the basics. That's how it works. Higher level spells. So let's look at targets, for example. Let's say that you wanted to target every living being in that castle. You could do that. You could do that with magic. You could say, I want everyone in that castle to fall asleep. Well, because you're targeting a structure means it's everybody in that castle, right? Not only is that total cost 9, but it's a ritual only, which means you must perform the spell as a ritual. Rituals are a whole different thing. Rituals take basically days to cast. It really behooves you to have other casters as well to helping you. It also behooves you to have grimoires if you can find those. It also could behoove you to use blood magic if you're so inclined, although that's highly illegal. But those are powerful spells. Or if you want a duration that's a week or longer, that's a ritual spell. So magic is very powerful, but the real, like the legendary magics, you can totally try and cast that. But they're going to be so expensive that unless you are super confident in your abilities and have a bunch of help, you risk the serious wrath of the weave. Because when you're rolling a d20 plus 15, now you're getting into some serious, crazy weave reaction territory, like ripping open the rift of reality and something else coming through. Like that stuff happens. So that, Harmon, is basically how a spell works, more or less. High-level spells, welcome to some serious fraying. Yes, exactly. Jason, hello, friend. Couldn't figure out chat. Neither can I. Apparently, because I screwed up the beginning of this chat. I didn't have this thing on. This is what it was supposed to look like, but I went straight to here. Roll rapid. A thread is like Whis in Ars Magica. Correct. It's exactly like Whis in Ars Magica. Amazing explanation. Can you also combine multiple strands like plants and water? Yes, you can. But when you do that, you're getting into requisite territory. So what that means is, if you are casting a spell that the GM determines is affecting multiple things, you have to look at all of the things you're affecting, and you have to take the lowest combination, the lowest value combination. So if you're equally skilled in all of these things, it's no problem. But if you're not, it's going to be tough. So that is that. Friends, countrymen. Yeah. I had some other stuff I want to talk about, and I cannot remember what the hell it was. Anyway, so that's a basic primer on magic. Now, as I said, it sounds really pedantic when I describe it now because I'm doing a slow motion tutorial of it, and I'm very tired. But I promise you, every single time we've done this, every single time, the people who have played Spellweavers are very intimidated by it when they first see it. But after like the second spell, they got it. And now I don't even have to ask. I say, okay, what do you want to do? And they say, I want to target this guy with this effect that's going to be this duration. and it's going to be, 15 total cost. Great, roll. So they know, right? And I say, okay, it's actually a magnitude of this, so add that, and they know. And it's just bang, 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 happens like that. I can see a lot of players who want to use the same kind of, what you might call in Ars Magica, a formulaic spell. I can see them writing it down and having like a pre-written spell available for that. Now, currently in the rules, there are no advantages to doing that, like there is in Ars Magica. For those of you who don't know, there's basically, for our purposes of this explanation, there's two ways of casting a spell. There's actually more, but there's two ways of casting a spell, formulaic or spontaneous. My entire system is based on the spontaneous idea, in that you don't cast spells you've memorized or anything like this. You are literally, in the moment, deciding how you want to affect the universe, and you do it. In Mars Magica, that'd be called a spontaneous spell. A formulaic spell is more like a D&D-esque spell, where you research it, and when you cast it, it's a little easier to cast because it's by rote, right? Like you know it very well. There are no current rules for formulaic spells in the Magic system, but I could see that in like a second supplement. I could see that in like an advanced player's guide or something. Yeah. Fraying equals entropy. You've included the second law of thermodynamics in your game. Yeah, exactly. Let me say that in English. Fraying equals entropy. You've included the second law of thermodynamics into your game. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Fraying is entropy. Fraying is reality saying, you can only mess with me so much before you are a danger to the very fabric of reality itself, and you must be removed. So the whole goal of a spellweaver is to use their powers in a very, very subtle way so that they don't get noticed. Which is why, when you have incredibly powerful spellweavers, these are also the guys who are least likely to use their power, because they know what it means. Because they know the risk of using high-powered spells. They know the risk. They can fire off cantrips all day long. But if they want to do something for real, they know the risk. And, once that fraying gets up there, you're like, is it really worth it to cast a spell, or maybe you just go hit it with a sword? Can you share the most recent changes to the rules? Oh, my God. There haven't been a lot of changes in the past couple months. We've been fixing wording. We've been fixing clarity issues with rules, but the rules are set. The rules have been set for many months, more or less. I'm trying to think if there's anything we changed in the last playtest. There was, this is super minor. Oh, well, I guess it's not that minor. We changed how experience works with goals. Before, what we had was, you basically, so the whole thing about the game is that you're pursuing your character goals, right? So I had it before that for every goal you have, for every individual goal, if you do anything to pursue that, you get an XP up to a max of 3. But what we found was that became very pedantic, and it just felt awkward, because you were like trying to look at, you're trying to like almost like audit your behavior in the session afterwards to see which of it, and it just felt very unnatural. So the change is now, if you pursue any of your goals, and again, pursuing your goals is very specific, right? It means you must roll dice to overcome obstacles, and there must be something at stake. But what that is, of course, is going to be context related. If you pursue any of your goals, let me just look this up to make sure I'm not telling tales out of school here. Experience and advancements. Here we go. Progress towards any of a character's goals earns the player's 3 experience points. Completing an individual goal earns 1 XP. Completing a shared goal earns 2 XP. So it is, as long as you're working towards any of your stuff, you're going to get rewarded. You don't have to audit it. It's not an accountant exercise, right? You just have to go towards what you want. But if you complete a goal, you get an extra. And if you complete a shared goal, you get a little more. So the impetus is to keep the party together, working together towards their shared goals, because you get more richly rewarded. You also get XP for failing or abandoning goals if it's in a cool, dramatic, awesome, meaningful way. Or having a revelation. And a revelation just means a moment in the game not necessarily tied to a specific goal, in which a role-playing moment or character discovery within the scene causes a change in the character's outlook or otherwise shifts expectations. It's a very broad category, but it's there to say at the end of the session, hey guys, what kind of cool stuff happened today that really shook things up, and the table can go, oh, there was that moment where you said that to the king, and oh my god, yeah, that was awesome. Okay, take an XP for that. And then finally, there's taking a personality trait skill penalty. So personality traits are in the game. You can use them to your advantage, but if you use them to your disadvantage, you get rewarded with XP for that once a session. So that was the biggest change in the rules, which is not a big change at all. But the rules are all there, man. I can't say that everything is 100% tested. I mean, it's a 500-page book, but we've gone over everything at least once, and so far so good. I'm sure people will find problems because every game breaks at some point. If you take a game and you put it through the ringer, guess what? You're gonna break it. It's inevitable. But we do our best to make sure that doesn't happen soon. It doesn't sound pedantic at all. Can't wait to read and use the rules for myself. Good. I'm pleased you like the sound of it. Strands are like skills. How do you improve it? Strands are skills. They're just measured differently. So a bind is a normal skill, right? You have a percentage value in it, and you roll against that percentage to succeed. A strand has a value between 0 if you don't have it, and upwards of 10. You can go over 10, but that starts to get really expensive when you do that. You buy with experience. And I think I can tell you right now, actually, because I have the experience chapter right open. How do you... magic skills advancement. So bind improvement is just like any other skill. But strand improvement, you spend XP equal to the next highest value. So if you want to improve your air strand from 3 to 4, it costs you 4 XP. So it gets progressively more expensive to get better at that stuff. Fraying is like paradox effects in Mage Ascension. Yeah, that and Twilight from Ars Magica were the two big influences there. I loved the idea that there was a limit on magic that had nothing to do with how many spells you can memorize, right? That it was, in fact, magic is inherently offensive to reality because it's magic. So therefore, what's the limitation? And the limitation is you push your luck too far, you can only push so far, right? Oh my God, almost spilled my drink. But yes, that was a huge influence. For some reason, that fraying phrasing made me think of the weave as the parent driving and the spellweavers just kids trying to fight in the back without being caught. Yeah, sort of. The weave isn't a sentient creature. It doesn't have consciousness, but it is the collective. It's collective reality. So in a way, there is a sense of will, but it's not like, well, the weave is watching you, Billy. Ugh, that Devona Temple scene in Season 1 suddenly seems more dramatic. Those are some devout cultists. Yes, although they are cultists practicing divine magic, which is a completely different animal than weave magic. Completely different animal. Divine magic has nothing at all in common with weave magic. I shouldn't say nothing at all in common. Some of the effects of it manifest in very similar ways to the way weave magic does. But divine casters, which are called God-bound, those who are touched by the god, those who have intimate connection with the god, does not mean you're a priest. Does not mean you have any affiliation with any religious hierarchy whatsoever. My sort of real-world example here is Joan of Arc. Presume that the story of Joan of Arc is true, that she really was talking to God. Well, she certainly wasn't part of the church, at least she wasn't part of the hierarchy, but she would have been considered a God-bound in this world, right? That brings a lot of other interesting political problems. Sometimes you could have, God-bound who come into conflict with the established hierarchy because the hierarchy are like, who are you? You jumped up nobody. Think you speak to God? Whoa! You got to get to the church first, mister. So yeah, it's a completely different thing. But the God-bound, they're all about their piety, and the way they improve their piety is through acts of service to the god or the church, depending, but mostly to the god. If they put their will secondary to the will of the god, they earn piety. If they perform acts of service for the god, if they consecrate holy ground, if they convert people, if they hold mass, if they, go on holy quests, they do all this stuff, they get more piety. Because every time they implore their god, every time they ask for help, it costs them piety. And it is a random amount, and they do not know what their total is. Which means that they have to always be working towards fulfilling the will of the god, not their own. You can be cast out by the god if you do that. If you use the god's power for your own will, for your own desires, the god could cast you out, right? Maybe even permanently if it's bad enough. But the way the powers work is every god is a domain, which is a series of different types of powers they can do that they are master over. And the godbound implores the god for help. Help me! Help me! Maybe not quite like George Costanza. And they make the roll. And the piety roll, of course, is based on their piety, but they don't know what their piety is. When your piety gets super low, the god issues a little warning. When it gets super high, they issue a, attaboy, right? So you're not entirely in the dark, but you don't know exactly what the number is. The higher you roll, the greater the effect of the miracle. And there's a few things you can do to help that, like if you draw upon your holy symbol and all this kind of stuff, then that's going to help. But the higher you roll, the greater the class of miracle. There's lesser, medium, and greater miracles. The lesser miracles are, have a skill boost, right? Or something like that. The medium miracles depend, but they're useful. The greater miracles are like, send a tidal wave to wash out these guys, right? But there's a list of suggested effects for each of the domains. It goes on and on and on. But ultimately, it's up to the GM to decide, in this moment, how is the god going to help their godbound? Based on the examples I have here, on the relative power level, and based on the roll, the piety roll. So, again, a lot of people are going to love that. A lot of people are going to hate it. I love it. And that's why it's in there, because I made the game as something that I would love. So it's cool. And the guys that have played Godbound, they love it too. They love being in the dark. They love the fact that they have to play a priest. They have to play someone who's actually devout, because that's the only way they get their powers back, right? So it's a self-enforcing doctrine that, continues or pushes you towards being an actual cleric. Are there optional rules to boost fraying for one-shot short campaigns? Maybe in the expert rules. The expert rules in the blue box that I released. Boost fraying? I don't think you ever want to boost fraying. That's a bad idea. It's a bad idea. Fraying is to be avoided at all costs. Cool XP system. Yeah, it's a lot of games use it. Mithras is a game that my skill improvement system is very similar to Mithras. It's slightly different, but it's inspired mostly by Mithras. So I've told you how strands improve, but if you want to improve a skill, you spend XP to master it. For each XP spent on improving a skill, roll 1d100. If the result is equal to or over the current skill value, you increase it by 1d4 plus 1. If the roll is under the current skill value, increase it by 1. Which means the better you are at something, the harder it is to improve. Because if my skill is 30, well, I'm probably going to roll over it, which means I'm going to increase it by 1d4 plus 1. But if my skill is 90, I'm probably going to roll equal to or under it, which means... I should say, I'm probably going to roll under it, because if you roll equal to or under it, or equal to or over is 1d4 plus 1, under it is just 1. So it becomes diminishing returns, right? If your skill is 90 and you put an XP, you're probably only going to increase it by 1. So it's still an increase, it's just not the big one. Now, there are things called savvy skills, which you mark at character creation. Savvy skills always add 1 to the result. So it's 1d4 plus 2, or 2 points on a quote-unquote failed roll. So that's how that works. You can get skills over 100, but again, huge diminishing returns. The advantage of skills over 100 is that when you roll and succeed, which is going to be 98% of the time, because 99 to 100 is an automatic fail no matter what your skill is. When you get a skill over 100, it means you cannot critically fail, because you can't roll doubles over anymore. And it also means that you add an extra success level based on the 10s die that you are over. So in the vast majority of cases, like from 101 to, or I should say 100 to 119, you're adding plus 1 SL to your outcome. When you get to 120, which again, as you can see with diminishing returns, is probably never going to happen, because you'd have to put like 20 XP towards that one skill, which is crazy, because it only goes up 1 every time. Or I guess 10 if it's a savvy skill, because it would go up by 2. But still, that's a huge expenditure. Then once you get to 120, it's plus 2 SL. So these are extremely rare, right? You might see that if you're playing for like 3-year campaigns and your characters have done all this stuff. But hey, you've been playing 3 years, and presumably that's many, 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 many years in game time. So you've earned it at that point. Got it. The weave is a bus driver. Yep, pretty much. More like the bus trying to keep stable while passengers fuck around. Exactly. If anyone endangers the bus stops and they get thrown out. That's a pretty good analogy, actually. All right, you kids back there. I've had enough of your little spell casting shenanigans. I will stop this bus and let you off right here. Exactly. The most amazing 120 score. Again, most players of this game will never see a skill of 120. Or even over 100, right? It becomes too expensive. And you're much better off improving skills you're not good at, because you get so much more bang for your buck out of that, right? And then there's expertise you can buy per skill. As I already mentioned, expertise is a floor. So you can buy basically a minimum success level in a skill between 2 and 4. And that's expensive too. It costs its new value. So if you want an expertise 2 in a skill, it costs you 2 XP. If you want expertise 3, that costs you 3. And if you want 4, it costs you 4, but each level must be bought separately. So all told, to get a skill up to expertise 4 is going to be 9 XP. Again, that's a lot. It's a lot. I mean, what limits a magic user in a one-shot? Oh, I see what you're saying. You can risk a whole lot more than... yeah, okay, I understand. You can risk a whole lot more than in a campaign fraying accumulation terms. Well, that's true, except that the weave reactions themselves are also perilous. So it's not just fraying that's the limiter. It's the weave reactions themselves, which can happen at any point, right? Like, how it tends to work is, it's not like D&D. It's not like where you take a short rest and you get all your stuff back, or a long rest or whatever. It doesn't work that way. In order to get back resolve, which is the fuel for a spellcaster, you must rest. But you can't just rest anywhere. Where you rest will determine, like the danger level of where you're resting will determine the value of your rest, how much you get back. And it's not a lot. You don't just get back all resolve at all, which means that spell weavers know that when they blow off a bunch of spells, and if they're blowing a bunch of resolve to control them, they're not going to get that back for a while. So the temptation is, well, I'm going to cast like 3 big spells. Okay, but then you're basically out of resolve. Probably, not necessarily. Depends on the spells and your rolls and all that stuff. But it's likely you got about 3 good ones in you before, well, that's about it. Again, it doesn't mean you can't cast. You can cast as much as you want. But if you're casting, well, no, you have to have at least 1 resolve. If you're completely out of resolve, you can't cast. But resolve is also used for other things, right? Like resolve is used to get out of, failed wound die rolls and all that kind of stuff. So it's not just for spellweavers, it's for everybody. You also suffer fatigue on the road. When you're traveling, you suffer fatigue, and fatigue cuts off your resolve from the other end, right? Fatigue basically reduces your max resolve. So the way it works is there's a bar, there's a track, there's a resolve track, and as you spend resolve, you mark a slash from left to right in the box. So if I spend 3 resolve, I go slash, slash, slash from left to right. But if I take fatigue, which is typically from travel, I mark an X in a box from the right to left. So if I take 5 fatigue, which is a really bad roll because you're on a really, really tough journey, I mark 5 boxes with an X from right to left. And what that means is that's capped my max resolve. So as I'm spending resolve and taking fatigue, my window of resolve is getting shorter and shorter and shorter. So you have to rest. Rest recovers fatigue and also resolve at the same time. But again, depends on the quality of rest you get based on the danger level of the place you're in, which is why on a journey, it's very important to find havens. It's very important to find places, what I call green zones, which are safe areas. When you're setting out a journey, you really want to know what you want to make for those safe areas, right? You must make for Rivendell, because that's where you're going to get quality rest, so you can kind of recharge your batteries, right? Nigel, is there a negative effect that comes with an aging character? Yes, there is. When you create a character, you have the option of making them young, medium, or old. And old comes with penalties, but it also comes with bonuses, right? Like they get more lore skills, they get more wisdom and knowledge, but their death threshold goes down and stuff like that. Fatigue is definitely fatiguing in this game. Well, yes, lives up to its name. I've said this before, I'll say it again. My players, when they go on journeys, they love it because it feels like they've been on a journey. They love it because they feel the strain of the journey. They feel like they've been there. They feel like they've been hiking the mountains, wandering along lake shores, through forests, over deserts. They feel like they've been on that journey. it's so cool. It's so cool. I'm glad you love it. I'm glad you guys are all excited about this. I'm glad you say you love this game. We'll see if you love it. Again, I'm telling you, you might look at this and say, nope, I hate this. This is too much. This isn't sim light. Here's another thing. A lot of people hear that term and they think rules light. This is not rules light. It's not super crunchy because crunchy is about math. There's actually not a lot of math in this. It's super simple. Because a lot of people, in my opinion, they use the word crunchy incorrectly. A lot of the time when you hear people say crunchy, what they mean is, oh, there's so many rules. But that's not actually what crunchy means. Crunchy means there's so much math involved, right? You are crunching numbers. For me, the distinction is rules light versus rules heavy. And I've said from day one, the Broken Empires is certainly to the right of middle when it comes to, or certainly towards the rules heavy side, but it's not way over here at the end. Like a rules heavy game, I would say, is something like Pathfinder 2 for me, and crunchy, because there's so much math involved. Providing you're not playing in a VTT. Providing you're playing the real game at a table where you have to use your head and a calculator. Or Rollmaster. Rollmaster is super crunchy because you roll your numbers and then you add your offensive bonus and you subtract the defensive bonus. And these aren't easy numbers like 5, 10. No. I rolled my skill. Okay, I rolled 67. Okay, my OB is 43. Okay, that's 110, I think. And now minus his DB of 32. Okay, that's what is that? 90. See, I'm losing the numbers already. And then you take that number, you compare it to a table and their armor type, and that gives you the number of hits you do. Oh, and possibly a crit between A and E. And then you look on the table A and E, which kind of crit it is. And then look at this. You slash him, and he's stunned for 2 rounds and unable to parry, and he takes 5 hits a round. And it's great when you were 15, but at 53, it's like, wow, okay, woo, lots. And again, I'm not criticizing. I actually love it. I love the detail, but I can see why people go, oh my God. The Broken Empires is not that. It is not that. It's not Shadow Dark or Into the Odd, but it's not that. And it's not Pathfinder 2. It is rules heavier than many games, but it is much rules lighter than games like that, or even games like Harnmaster or Mithras, right? It's lighter, that much lighter than Mithras. So I fear that the marketing term sim light may have been a mistake because people only hear the light and they think, oh, rules light, it's going to be really loose. You have to roll a d20 and whoever rolls highest wins the roleplay game. No, it's not that. That's the truth, and I'm sticking to it. All right. How are we doing? We still here? We still rolling? Huzzah. Huzzah, huzzah. Let's see if I missed anything. Amen. Amen. How are we doing? Have we... An hour 18. Boy, I do go on a bit. Anything else you guys want to know? Remember, we don't have to talk about the Broken Empires, right? This is a chance for you guys to ask me anything you want. So feel free to. Hello, Thaco. Thaco. There's another thing about ACKs. Is ACKs uses what I consider to be an unnecessarily complicated way of determining whether you hit. And it's based on Thaco, basically. Thaco, for those of you who don't remember, 2-hit armor class 0. This is probably the greatest innovation that D&D 3rd edition did, was reversing armor class to be ascending and to get rid of the table. Because in the old days of D&D, and in the current days with Adventure Conquer King, which is ACKs, you still have that table. I roll a d20, I add my modifier, and then I look at the little table on my character sheet that shows what armor class I've hit based on that number. So the math is exactly the same as having ascending armor class, but they still use that old school table, and to me, it's just totally unnecessary. That was the innovation of 3rd edition. Roll d20 plus your bonus against an ascending armor class. If you match that, hit, that's it. You don't need a table. Great. Great. Still here, but leaving soon, getting rather late down in South Africa. Well, I thank you for joining us, James. Thank you very much. Do you still have artistic craft skill in the character sheet? Very niche. Yes, craft artistic and craft practical. These are actually not particularly niche. They're skills that encompass anything in that realm. So craft practical could mean carpentry, or I want to build a raft, or I want to examine the structure of the stone to see whether dwarves built it. All of this is craft practical. Craft artistic is something like I want to write a poem. I want to make a sculpture. I want to make a painting. I want to decipher the artistic style of the frescoes in the dungeon to see what culture made it, to give us a hint as to who built this place. That's all craft artistic. Also, there is something in the game called helping skills, and this is also inspired by Mithras. You can use any skill to help any other skill if it is justified. It's not a huge boost, but any little bit helps. How it works is any skill not any skill. Some skills can't be helped, but if you're talking things like craft, artistic, and stuff like this, it can be helped. So let's say you are wanting to make a sculpture, right? Yeah, it's a gift for a lord out of stone. And you want to make it, let's say it's you want to make a representation of an ancient king as a gift to this lord. Why not? Well, that's a craft artistic roll to do it. Probably going to be an extended roll because it's going to take more time. Special type of roll in the game. And you could use your ancient lore skill to help, because ancient lore could easily cover the memory and the likeness of what that lord looked like. So how you do it is you look at your ancient lore skill. Let's say it's, 50 or 52, let's say. You take the tens die of the ancient lore skill, of the helping skill, and you double it. And that becomes the help to your craft artistic in this case. So let's say your craft artistic is 70. You've got an ancient lore of 52. If you're using ancient lore to help you craft this particular statue, you get plus 10 because it's 52. 5 times 2 is 10. 10 plus 70 is 80, and that is your skill. Anyone could do that. It doesn't have to be you. Someone else could help you with that. Someone else could be describing the king as you're busily sculpting. But a skill can only be helped by one other skill. I see a guitar. Do you play? I do. Not well. I'm that guy, or I was that guy, that folk singer around the campfire. I was that guy. I'm that guy who knew every song ever written as long as it was in the chords of C, G, and D. I was in a couple bands in my day. They were all like mostly Irish folk band kind of stuff. I have not played in a long time. I should, cause I miss it, and it was fun. I'd love to find some people to play with here, but the kind of music I play is niche. Niche. I love Thaco, but the new mechanism is easier. Yes, it is. It certainly is. What role-playing game would you recommend for someone coming from adventure board games? Adventure board games such as... James, give me an example. It just shows how old we are. Thaco, yeah, no kidding. All right, off topic. If you had to choose just one system to play from now on, what would you choose? Oh, boy. Oh, boy. If I had to... So this is the Desert Island question. If you could only bring one role-playing game with you on a desert island, and presumably there's other people to play, because otherwise you're playing solo. I don't know if I can answer that, Nigel. That's so tough, because for me, it's entirely about the mood I'm in at the time. That's why I've said, I don't hate any game. Even games I don't normally like, I still find stuff in every game that I do like a lot. My go-to example for this is Fate. I'm not actually a big Fate fan, but I love the 4DF resolution system, the Fate dice, which have pluses and ones on it. And you roll 4 of them, and you count successes. Pluses are successes, minuses are failures, and whatever's left over, you add to your skill value, and that's your total. I think that's so elegant. And really bounded, too. It keeps results within a really nice, tight, compact set of results, so you can control things better. I love that. I even love the idea of aspects. How everything is an aspect. However, you can put an aspect, I have the aspect of best gambler in the country. Okay, well, when that applies, you get a bonus. The problem I have with Fate is the Fate economy, is the Fate point economy, is the back and forth, is the almost adversarial nature of going back and forth with that. I don't like that. Really don't like that. Same reason why I don't like metacurrencies for GMs. Things like the 2D20 system by Modifius. I don't like the idea of metacurrency. I don't like the idea that the GM has to spend metacurrency in order to, be a GM and do his thing and provide challenges for the characters. It's just, I don't like it. But I love so many games. Even, I bitch about Burning Wheel all the time. I have such a love-hate relationship with Burning Wheel. I want to love it. And when I've run it and played it, there are moments that I do absolutely love. But there's moments that just drive me nuts too. And yet, I don't think my library would be complete without a copy of Burning Wheel. Because it's so... I think it's an instrumental game. I think it's a game that pushed the envelope so much in terms of opening up the possibilities of what a role-playing game can do. Even if I don't agree with how they do it a lot of the time, I think it's so foundational to advancing how you can enjoy these games. But would I bring it with me as my only game? No, I wouldn't bring it with me. I don't know how to. I don't know if I can answer that, Nigel. If I could only have one game, boy, I don't know. Though I wouldn't want to do a light game because I'd get bored of it, and I wouldn't want to do a super heavy game because I'd get tired of it. I don't know. Rock, paper, scissors. That's what it would be. I've killed the orc. All right. Where are we? Sorry, guys. I'm a little dry today. Coughing and clearing my throat more than usual. How easy do you think it'll be to introduce 5e type players to the Broken Empires? I'm a 5e DM because that's all my friends know, and I'm worried that they will find it too hard. Any cheat sheets for the less experienced? So that's a great question. That's a great question. This is not a beginner game. I say that in the introduction. It's not a beginner game. That doesn't mean that beginners can't play it. It's just that this game assumes a certain level of experience with role-playing games. And if you don't have that experience, you might be put off by it. Possibly. But again, in that same paragraph in the book, I say, then again, I learned Rollmaster at age 10, so, anything's possible. But how hard will it be to introduce 5e type players? So you, my friend, have a very common problem. We play 5e, that's all we know. And we don't want to learn anything else. We just want to turn 5e into everything else. We want to play a sci-fi game? How can we make 5e do that? This is the whole reason why I do a Sage's Library on this channel. I want people to understand there's a universe of games out there that are so much more better suited to the experience you might be looking for than fucking 5e again and again. Not that there's anything wrong with 5e. It's fine. But it's only one of it's only one star in a sky brimming with stars. How to introduce them? Slowly. I would say get them excited about the concepts of the game. Here's what I would say to 5e players. If I was going to try to introduce the Broken Empires, I'd say, imagine a game where you are no longer bound by class or level. Imagine a game where it's entirely about the skills you have and the talents you have, that you choose what you're going to be good at. Imagine you're a competent character out of the gate. You're not a superhero. You will never be a superhero. But you are a competent character, and you are a real character. You're a character with goals and ambitions and desires and loves and hates. You have things you want and things you want to achieve. You have people and places you want to protect. Imagine there's a game that brings you into the world through its mechanics that makes you feel like you're there. Imagine the swing of a sword being a deadly threat because it slashes you across the face and cuts off your right ear, which causes you to fall into shock. Imagine smashing an orc on the right arm and with a mace and shearing the sickening shatter of bones, which causes him to drop that mace and disarm him. But none of this has to be embellished by the player or the GM. The system tells you all of that is happening through one or two rolls. Imagine a system in which pursuing social goals, is just as tactically interesting as combat goals. Imagine a system that allows you as a spellcaster to be free of the bonds of Vancian magic, to be able to do anything you can imagine as long as you're willing to pay the price. Imagine a game that allows you to explore the width and breadth of a fantasy world that makes you feel like you are breathing the air and seeing the landscape and feeling the earth underneath your boots as you trudge through the many kingdoms of the broken empires. Imagine a game that has mechanics that allow you to do all of this and allow the GM to facilitate that entire experience without having to just make stuff up on the fly. That's how I would sell them. I would say this is a game that if you put a little bit of effort into the first 2 sessions, learning, or rather unlearning what you have learned, unlearning some of the standard practices of D&D, you will open your eyes to a brave new world. You will open your eyes to a new way of playing. You will level up your game in a way that does not require characters to have level. You will open your eyes to a way of role-playing that perhaps you have never seen before, and you will be empowered in a way you've never been before. That would be my pitch to the 5e players. Will they bite? Don't know. Some of them will, some of them won't. That's all I can tell you. The adventure games such as Trudvang Legends, Gloomhaven, Kinfire Chronicles, 7 Continent. What RPG would you recommend for someone coming from these games? Any of them, really. Gloomhaven is basically just kind of a hex crawler D&D kind of game. So any of those games, good. Yeah, I don't know. We are in the same boat. I had no idea that Suede existed before. That's Savage Worlds Adventurers Edition. Is that right? Adventures Edition? I haven't actually played. I have it. I've never. I play Deluxe Edition, which is the previous version. To me, that's the best version. It's the one that some of the changes they made in Suede and I don't like it. I like the Deluxe version. And if I ever play Savage Worlds again, I'm thinking about running a Deadlands game, but it's going to be Deadlands Reloaded because it's based on the Deluxe Edition, which is my favorite. I had no idea that Suede existed before watching Trevor, and now it's all I want to play. It's so modular with a bunch of add-ons and makes solo easier because vibes are legitimate. So, Savage Worlds is awesome. I love it. It's one of my favorite games. It's not appropriate for all genres, but I love it. I love it. Savage Worlds is so much fun. To me, it lives up to its fast, furious, and fun claim. I love it. It's great. I can't wait to play another one. I find the games I want to play depend on the mood, fantasy, sci-fi, mystery, like Delta Green. I also feel settings get me excited to play like Warhammer Fantasy. Absolutely. Exactly. Like if I'm in a Delta Green mood, I'm clearly not in a Stars Without Number mood, right? I'm clearly not in a D&D mood. If I'm in a Warhammer Fantasy mood, I'm also not in a D&D mood because those are 2 very different feels. So yeah, like that's why it's so hard to say what's your favorite game or I guess, my answer would be it's the game I'm currently playing right now in this moment. Fate of the Fellowship. It's also my favorite. I love that board game. We've been playing the hell out of it. So good. I love Sage's Library. Yes, me too. I got to do another one soon. What's your opinion on Palladium games such as Rifts? Well, I never played Palladium Rifts. I do have the Savage Worlds Rifts books, but I haven't actually read them. They were given to me by is it Pinnacle that runs Savage Worlds? So yeah. My opinion on Palladium. So I started with Palladium Fantasy, the first edition, way back in the early 80s. That's the game that I never did figure out how to do combat properly in. But oh my God, we played the hell out of that game. Years we played that game. I ran that game years. We house ruled the hell out of it, of course, because it's what we do. But I want to run it again. I picked up a new copy of the original edition of the game at Gen Con last year. Bought it from Kevin himself, the creator. and it's, you know, leather bound, all that stuff. It is, they've changed a few things in there. They politically corrected it up, because back in the 80s, you know, they didn't really care about offending people who might be offended by such things. And that's why I love it, because it's raw. It's true. it's real. They don't care about that stuff. You know, as sensibilities changed and people, we can't really have an insane section. I think the big issue with the first, or one of the big issues, in there was an insanity chart you could have, and one of the insanities back in 1980 was homosexuality. So that was considered an insanity. So they changed that. Okay, fair enough. But I like having the artifact of the original. I wanted them to preserve the original because it was a snapshot. It was a moment in time, right? So luckily I still have mine, but my softcover Palladium Fantasy book is just, it's just so tattered, and you can see like on the edges of the pages, just it's so gross from the years of thumbing through the pages with my nicotine stained fingers, because I was such a heavy smoker back then. Anyway, best selling speech ever. Well, I hope someone recorded it. Imagine a game that is even more insanely inspiring than Trevor himself. You're very kind, Agile Monk. Thank you very much. Yes, Vortak, I heard that there is a Gloomhaven RPG coming out soon, but I don't know much about it. Yeah, of course I'd forgotten about that. Thanks. Regarding 5e players, I'll try to convince them. Yeah, this, like I said, you're not alone. This is a common problem. People got into the game with D&D, with 5e. Especially since the pandemic, right? That was a huge thing. Stranger Things, Critical Role, pandemic, perfect storm. And 5e was the game. I don't have anything against 5e. It's fine. It's fine. It works. A little boring for me, especially as you get up there in levels, but it's fine. But it's the entry-level game. And so a lot of people just stay at entry level because they don't really understand that there's other games besides D&D, which blows my mind. But it's just the way it is. So here's the thing. Like, if your players are loving their 5e game, why would they want to leave it? They're loving it, right? But if they're hitting that ceiling of the old D20 system or of just the conceits of 5e, you know, you can only offer them something they want if they want it, right? You can only suggest something to fix a problem if there's a problem to fix. So it's going to be based on your particular group, I guess. I've also played the Savage Worlds Pathfinder. I do like it. Yeah, so here's what I don't get. Is this just essentially taking the setting of Pathfinder and just making it all Savage Worlds rules? Because if that's the case, then it's really no different than saying this is just Savage Worlds in Galarian, right? Sorry, I'm just seeing on YouTube here. It looks like YouTube's seriously lagging. This is really weird. Anyway, I hope the stream is doing okay. It says stream health is good, but... And presumably, you guys are hearing me right now because I'm responding to your chat and you're responding to me. Really strange. Because I'm looking at YouTube right now, and it's like an hour ago. It's showing an hour ago. This is really strange. Really strange. Well, it says I've been live for an hour 38. So, anyway, okay. Well, whatever. Chat, don't forget to hit like on the video. Hit like and subscribe to help YouTube know you like stuff from Trevor and should recommend it to others. Yes, thank you, Wolfie. Thank you, Wolfie. Thank you so much, Wolfie. All the support is appreciated. Swade is fun in games until a Benny keeps exploding dice and destroys your character. Oh, wait, that's fun too. Yes. That can happen. It is a wild, swingy game. It absolutely is. You're either going to love that or hate it. I love it. Because it's pure chaos. It's not pure chaos because you have skills. Skills matter, but chaos reigns in that game, and it's so fun. I love it. Yeah, Savage Worlds is both a fantasy companion. Yeah, I knew that. And Savage Worlds Pathfinder Edition converted to... So it is just that. It's just It's just Savage Worlds and Galarian. Okay, I'm not a huge Galarian fan. I don't know a ton about it. It feels a bit meh to me. It feels a bit like homogenous, and everything's kind of just like gray, and there's no real... Again, I shouldn't even say this because I haven't read the whole thing, but from what I have seen, to me, it feels like there's no differentiation of cultures in the world. It seems like everything's kind of just sort of blah. Everyone's kind of the same. But, I mean, I've seen some adventure paths that take place in what seems to be like an Africa kind of continent, when that culture seems quite different. So maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong about that. But a lot of stuff I have seen has been kind of like, oh, it's really hard to I hate when it's really hard to tell what cultural area you're supposed to be in because all the people look and sound and talk the same. It's just this. It's not Seattle 2026, guys. This is supposed to be a fantasy world with different cultural areas. If I go to Fantasy France, I want it to feel like Fantasy France, that is different from Fantasy England, that is different from Fantasy Spain. I want to understand that there's a different language being spoken, and there's different cultures and different outfits, and there's different customs, and there's different food and different smells and different sights and everything. I want to feel like I've traveled into a different world that is familiar, but still, not homogenous. It's a setting, but using the mechanics of Suede. I do love Savage Worlds and a longtime Pathfinder player. Oh, yes, that's right. You are a Pathfinder player. Yeah. I just couldn't do it, man. I tried to I really wanted to. And there's things about Pathfinder I like. But it's not my game. It's not my game. It's, I find it very dull because I find the math is so balanced. I find that Pathfinder sacrifices everything on the holy altar of supreme balance, which to me is dull. But I know there's legions of you out there that love it, and all the power to you. I hope you continue to love it. Just not my game. Don't people get tired of always playing the same game? What an excellent question. It's one I've been asking for years, but apparently not. Or they are tired and they just don't know that they're tired of it. Okay, so stream is fine. That's good. It's just so strange. So strange that I'm seeing the video replay right now, and it's way behind. But the stream live says we've been going for an hour and 42 minutes. My God. Thanks, James. I presume you're off. Thanks for joining us today. We'll see you next time. Are we likely to get to play the Broken Empires at Gen Con? So, here's the thing about Gen Con. I don't know if I'll be able to go this year. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get a room. And if I don't have a room, I can't go. So if anybody knows of a room downtown, because I'm not staying at the airport, let me know. I stupidly waited like a week too long, and now they're all gone. So I might not even be there this year. It's possible. But if I am there, I don't think I'm going to have anything officially ready because, again, I'm not going to be able to sell anything at Gen Con this year because it's probably like I'm hoping fulfillment is going to be happening. Well, I'm hoping fulfillment's going to be happening before Gen Con, but it might be happening right around the same time. And if so, I don't want to be taking stuff at Gen Con if the backers haven't got theirs yet. I'm not going to do that. Which would mean that I'd be running digital stuff, and I don't want to run a game that I can't sell to people, right? Because that's kind of the whole point. And yeah, I guess they could order on the store and stuff, but I won't have product with me and I won't have a booth. So it's kind of a weird thing. 2027, on the other hand, oh yes, mark your calendars. I will be there. The Broken Empires booth will be at Gen Con, I hope. I hope will be at Gen Con 2027. I bounced off Pathfinder in its normal form, so I haven't messed with the Savage Worlds Pathfinder. I just use Fantasy Companion and use the lore, location, etc. The Forgotten Realms. Yeah, I'd play that game. I'd play that game in a heartbeat. We started playing MERPs again about a year ago, and the languages and resisting friendly spells has been quite a change from 5e. That's awesome. That's great, Teddy. That is great. Playing MERPs. Have you played Against the Dark Master? Against the Dark Master is the modern day update to MERPs. That's great. Love that game. Got to get to bed. Great stream, Trevor. We'll watch the rest tomorrow. Thanks for answering my questions. Well, thank you for joining, Harmon, and thanks for the questions. Boo. Thanks for the explanation. I'll stop asking about it. What did I explain? Gen Con. Gen Con, right. I'm going to Gen Con in 2027 then. Are you printing the Broken Empires out of China or the Netherlands? So for this initial run, it's out of China. We got offered the best deal, of course. I don't know how much longer that's going to be a thing. The world is changing fast, as we've seen. My goal, my hope, which is a vain hope, is to be able to make the next print run of the books here in the States. I don't think that's going to happen. The quality of the book that we're printing, if I was printed in the States, would probably cost me like 5 times as much, which makes it untenable, right? But we're looking at alternatives, possibly. We'll see. We'll see how this works out. Our producer in China has been great so far, but we won't know until we get the final product. But they've been fantastic to deal with, which is nice. We saw it. I just used my old books. Galarian has some great stuff, but yeah, it can be homogenous in places. Yeah. I mean, again, I don't want to unfairly smear Galarian because, like I said, I'm no expert in it. I just have seen a few things, that's all. Yes, it is changing fast, and the options for the USA will be better here in about a year. Well, I hope you're right. I can't see how you would be wrong. You know, the whole idea, and I'm not going to get into a political thing here, but the whole idea of the tariff thing, I know what they were thinking. They were trying to encourage the manufacturing base to come back here to the States. That was ultimately the plan. Hasn't worked so far, but it doesn't happen overnight. This is a many year stage process. But in the meantime, it's kind of a screwy situation because we in the West have become so addicted, you might say, to cheap Chinese goods, right? But the fact is, over the past 30 years, they've become the experts. Ha, you're the expert now, Mark. They've become the experts on making this stuff. You really can't get board game stuff done pretty much anywhere else in the world. I mean, there's some places in Poland. I think it's Poland. But China, man, they specialized in this stuff. And they can make it for, dare I say, slave wages. Ooh, maybe even literally, which is distressing. But this is part of the problem, right? I don't particularly... I mean, I would love to be able to produce stuff here at home. But it's right now it's impossible. Maybe that'll change. Who could say? The world is changing fast. Who can say? But as I said, no shade on our Chinese partners because so far they have been fantastic to deal with. And like I said, I won't know until I get the actual product in my hand, but I have no reason to suspect that they're going to do anything other than quality work. I just don't know how long that relationship is going to be able to last because of geopolitics. And if you had asked me, or if you'd said to me 5 years ago, that as a role-playing game designer, you're going to have to worry about international geopolitics, I would have been, what? What are you talking about? But that's the world we're in now, you know. I'm having all my books, too, that are going to a Kickstarter in April. Will be getting printed in the USA, hard and soft covers. We might have to tell me about that, where you're doing that. There are some guys I know that are doing stuff here, but from what I understand, the I don't want to say the quality, but the type of stuff you can get printed in the States for a reasonable cost is not at all the kind of stuff that we're getting done. Because, like I said, we're doing fancy stuff here. This is a high-quality premium book, full color plates, everything. That would be extraordinarily expensive to do here. But I know a lot of guys that do black and white stuff, right? So it can happen. You know, if I was going to print in the States, whatever next game I do, if it was black and white, if it was a much simpler game, which I'm sure my next game, whatever it is, will be a much simpler game because I'm not going through this again. This was crazy. I would consider that, right? Because you can do that stuff here a little easier, but the big fancy stuff, again, I could be wrong. I don't know all the details here, but it is Poland. Okay, yeah, these guys are making, you know, I got to say that the Polish, they are doing some quality work out there, man. Miniatures, board games, RPG stuff. They are really on top of it. I have great admiration for our friends over there. Unfortunately, it's killed my USA customers. The tariff thing? Yeah, it sucks. Yes, it's been killing off US customers. Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Well, what are you going to do? You know, we can't change. We have no control over those who are doing things in the world. No direct control, anyway. Well, guys, excuse me. It's been almost 2 hours here. I'm going to check the Discord to see if there's anything else. I don't think there is. I'm a little distressed about this. See, here's the thing. Like I said, I'm looking at the YouTube feed, and it's showing like an hour lagging behind, even though it says it's live. So if I hit end broadcast now, I'm concerned that YouTube will be cut off, which would be terrible. Terrible! Anyway, I guess we'll see what happens. But yes, we have no control over global economics. Exactly. Awaken Realms in Poland, awesome. Yeah, they've actually sent me a few things. Really great. They sent me, I did a review of their dice. They had these special dice that allow you to they're like randomizer dice, but they're super cool. They're these wood dice with these really wild faces and stuff. Thanks for the D6 invite. Oh, you're a D6er. Great. Well, thanks for joining us, Wolfa. Consider updating your pledge to your pledge, like it's a Kickstarter. Your membership to D10 on Patreon, so you can join us every week. Well, thank you, Teddy. I will be strong. Thank you, Simon. Yes, we have been going for an hour and 50 minutes. Okay, so we're going to see what happens here when I end the broadcast. On your replay, look at the bottom left of the screen, and you should see a button that says live. It does say live. Wait a minute. You're saying if it doesn't have a red dot, click it, and it'll push you to current moment. Live. Well, there's a red button that says live, but nothing happens when I push it. I don't know what's going on. Why are you doing this thing? Come on. Stream health. Excellent. Stream settings. So weird. Well, I don't know what's going to happen here, guys. But we'll see. If this doesn't work, if this gets cut off, then I guess you will be the only ones that see this stream. Because I won't be able to make it go live on YouTube. Thank you, Trevor. Catch you next time. Thank you, Nigel. Thanks for joining. And thank you all for joining. And for those of you on YouTube, if you do want to be part of the next On the Table, consider joining us here on YouTube as a sponsor level member or over on Patreon as a D10 or D12 member. And for all of you who have been supporting me, thank you so much. Couldn't do any of this without you. I'm going to end this broadcast now and see if it successfully closes. All right. Farewell, friends. Farewell.